Name's JD Graham. I write sad songs. I'm just a normal guy that's singing songs about struggle. I live with it every day. My ignorance taking somebody's life, it's never minimized. Have I healed like with what I've done? Yes. Is it still very dominant in my mind? Absolutely. I play music and I write songs to connect with people. It also helps me connect with folks that need to hear a story of success from someone that has struggled just as hard as they have. There's some things that are out of your control that you have to accept it and you have to deal with it for what it is, not for what you want it to be. And I spent some weekends down in Key West sniffing cocaine on the beach. I burned some nights and I've burned some weed.
Hey, good morning. This is the Mark Howley Show, and welcome back. Today we have a great guest. His name is J.D. Graham. He's a musician, performing songwriter, and has a great story. I think it's very compelling. So let's just start off with saying hello and where you from. What do you do?
What's happening, man?
You're here to talk to me.
No, I'm super grateful. Number one, that you guys let me come up here and do this. I've never been to Seattle. It's my first time ever in Seattle.
Kick it. You know?
Name's JD Graham. I write sad songs. Born and raised in Oklahoma. I live in Arizona now. I don't call either place my home though. But that's where I was born. And I was raised, and it's where I live.
But what was it about Oklahoma that I know you had some? We'll talk about it in some more depth, but. Was it in Oklahoma that things kind of spun around sideways, or was it elsewhere?
Oh, no, my thing spun around sideways for me at probably 11, 12 years old. So certainly in Oklahoma. I've only been out in Arizona since 07. So I spent the majority of my life in Oklahoma.
Wait, since you were 7?
No, 07.
Oh, 07.
Yeah, 2007.
Okay. So, what was your basic family dynamic? Was it?
Good family dynamic. Working mom, working dad, raised in a town with 526 people, Hydro, Oklahoma. Yeah, big town, right? Everybody knew everybody. So, as far as family dynamic, my entire family pretty much lived in that little town, had grandmas, aunts, uncles, everybody, really involved in the church, when I was a kid and just little town, man. And I running around in wheat fields and throwing dirt clods and riding four-wheelers and shooting guns and, just your typical middle America family.
Yeah. A little different than mine. I was one of 8 just outside of West Philly, not exactly running around a lot. The name of the game was to not get too deep into West Philly.
Okay.
Because that's where some things started. Well, amongst white guys and sometimes amongst the black guys, just went a little sideways when you get in on the. You didn't like taking the subways sometimes just because it went through some neighborhoods that just get you spooked for a whole bunch of reasons. So you just stay out of them.
Hey, it's funny you mention that. Every single town that I ever go in, I try to find like the most poor and homeless and hood part of town that I can. If I'm playing a show, I do 2 things first. I drive by the venue first, see where it's at, and then I try to find the worst part of town. And I drive around, I'll get out and find a place to park and kind of just walk through that. And sometimes talk to people. I believe in going to these hardcore parts of towns and just talking to folks that are on the streets, man. Let them know that they can come back from it. You know what I mean? But and sometimes I go in places my friends won't go with me. They're like, I'm not getting out of this car. But I've found that most people that are on the streets and are dealing with either addiction or mental illness, and man, they're harmless. I understand there are certain neighborhoods that maybe are not so harmless, but you know what? Those people are just trying to figure it out as well. So I've never been afraid to walk through any neighborhood or down any street. Matter of fact, I enjoy it because I like to just kind of see what's going on.
You go into these venues and you want to just go down and bump around where the, I guess what I'd say is where the poor and downtrodden may be.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why, but I was talking to my daughter last night on the phone. I've got 3 daughters and 7 grandkids, and I was talking to my youngest daughter on the phone because I went downtown Seattle when I got here, yesterday, and kind of looked around. I know that they've decriminalized most drugs here to some degree, and I wanted to see like how that translated to street living, because I go to these areas of downtowns every single place I go. So, and I do it, everywhere I go, and I don't know what gravitates me to that, but there's a gravity that pulls me to those areas. And maybe it's because I used to like kind of operate in those type of areas, and I kind of want to see the contrasting viewpoint from a sober guy that's been there that is no longer now there, and then also, when I walk around and speak with people, it's my hopes that I can say something that may bring them a little bit of hope, maybe let them know that, hey, I know where you're at right now, but I was there. Like, this is where I am now, so you can get better. You just got to make um, concrete decisions and behavioral changes. If you're coming from like I was 25 years of drug addiction.
Yeah, yeah. And now, so you're down in Seattle. Any comment on Seattle right now?
Not yet. The jury's still out on Seattle. I've never been here. The city is the color scheme, like even on the buildings, everything else is much darker than most cities that I've been to.
Really? That's an interesting
Yeah,
input.
I feel like even at the airport, like when I walked into the Seattle airport, it was most airports that I go to, and I don't fly a lot, so I'm not like the number one expert on this, but most airports that I go to they're kind of bright and welcoming. I didn't feel that. Like when I walked in the Seattle airport, I felt like everybody's dressed in dark clothing. There's not very many pictures and art on the wall and everything. It was, kind of reminded me like of a thoroughfare, like through a prison, like a transfer yard.
I'm sure.
Sorry, Seattle. That's my casual observation of your airport.
We do have out here, when I moved out from Philly, that's one of the things I have noticed that, like, this is the outfit that you wear, more like muted down,
Mhm.
if you're working and stuff. And I don't know why, but when in Rome, over the years, especially running a little business, you just kind of, I never meant to. All of a sudden, I just found myself doing it,
Okay.
and then I'm like, I turned into one of them. Huh.
You're a product of your environment. We hang
Yeah.
around the same place long enough, we're going to start to blend into the environment.
Yeah, but thankfully not. I'm in touch with the folks in the Northeast, so my brothers and all that stuff. So I refuse to lose my edge.
Okay.
Fucking Eagles, go Phillies, and just all that stuff, because that's what I love. I left there when I was 40.
Okay.
So no, let's first hear about your addiction. There's another subject I wanted to touch on, but what it started when you were quite young.
Yeah, I had an anxiety disorder when I was young, and my folks sent me to the doctor, and I think they gave me Valium or Klonopin around 11, 12 years old, somewhere in that area. A lot of my past is a little bit blurred because I was on a lot of drugs, but I liked that. By the time I was 16, I was like in my friends' parents' medicine cabinets, grabbing stuff out of there. By the time I had my first daughter when I was 16. I had been 16 for 5 days, and my first daughter was born.
Wow.
By the
So
time,
wait, so 16? Damn, that's young.
yeah.
Was that common around the area at that?
No. I mean, it just happened.
Well,
and so I quit school and I went to digging sewer ditches for a plumbing company. So my name was Jeremy Grab a Shovel.
Jeremy grab a shovel.
Yeah. I go by JD Graham. My name's Jeremy Graham. Yeah. So and by the time, and so I was clearly on drugs during that entire time. By the time I was 20, 22, I was selling a lot of drugs, like in the Oklahoma City area. I was selling a bunch of cocaine, a bunch of weed, and pills, and like whatever else I could, like to finance like my drug habit. And that thing just perpetually just snowballed into like $1,000 a day habit for multiple years. And like
Of what drug generally?
mostly well, first and foremost anything, but my drug of choice was opiates, but not heroin. Like I wanted pharmaceutical opiates. I wanted oxycodone was my drug of choice. And
So you wanted to make it a little fancy.
no, I just wanted to know what I was getting every time.
That's
So,
a good
so I was
idea.
taking about 900 to 1,000 milligrams of oxycodone a day. So,
How many pills is that?
30 perk 30s a day.
Wow.
For years. On top of, now that was just kind of the base of my addiction, but on top of that, mixed with whatever I could get my hands on. The only thing I've never done is PCP. I think I've done about every other drug out there, and I did. I mean, I was such a drug addict in the latter stages. I would set an alarm every morning to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, even if I didn't go to bed till 2 or 3, just to get high, because I just stayed in this perpetual
Blur.
chemical state. And I was like, I had jobs before. I wasn't playing music full time my entire life, but I had a band before the prison days called Sour Diesel Trainwreck, and
I listened to a little bit of
we
that.
traveled around the country playing music, and I did all this while juggling and what I would like to think is an extreme addiction. You know, I mean that my next high and me having drugs on me was the number one priority in my life.
Did you ever do the thing where you got up? Like I heard guys who were getting, drinking a lot, where I was just talking to one last night, actually. Get up in the morning, have, like, boom, shot, puke it up. You ever heard that next one, puke it up, then you can hold it.
Right.
Did you ever have that?
I was not a drinker, right? I liked that pharmaceutical feeling, and alcohol would usually get in the way of that. As a matter of fact, when I had plenty of oxycodone, I didn't do anything else. I didn't want anything else infringing on the feeling that it gave me, because it didn't make me lethargic. It gave me energy. I'd want to like clean my house and go build a car or something. You know, drugs affect different people different ways. But I feel like if I wasn't sick at my stomach after taking a bunch of pills, I didn't take enough. So like I did like the pharmaceutical research, the pharmacological, whatever the hell the word is.
Yeah.
Research.
Pharmacological. I think we're.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is.
Bridget, look at that in the library. Get back to us.
I wanted to find out like how much can I take without dying, and I'd probably push.
I mean, that's pretty.
And I would push the envelope. I even went to a doctor once and said, "Hey, man, this is what I'm doing. Like, what long-term effects is this going to have on me? Because I'm not going to stop." He's like, "Well, you're not taking the ones with Tylenol, so you're just going to have a really bad come down, one of these days, because like the liver and the kidney damage and stuff, typically like with pharmaceuticals, occurs because of the other things, the byproducts of most opiates, which would have like the Tylenol with ibuprofen in them. I was taking like the straight
clean,
the clean ones, so I could just
good ones.
Okay, I could get that, I knew what I was getting. Didn't like the heroin and stuff. Not that I've not done it. When I needed something and I was sick, but that was not. I would go to the ends of the earth to find out what I needed. I'd go to other
heroin.
countries.
Did you shoot it or just sniff it?
What's that?
Well, I don't know.
You said, did I?
Did you put it here? Or
I've done. No. I've done every drug every way that you can possibly do it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. Okay. There's a lot of places to stick shit.
Well, not there. Okay, let me back up. Never there, but yes, snorted it, smoked it, put it in my veins. No other places was it going. Put it in my eyes.
All right. For the woke people that you don't know what that means, I do. Yeah. But anyway, who cares? Let's get off of that. So now you're bumping around out on the street, and I mean, I'm just trying to think about this. 900 milligrams is 30 of these things.
Yeah, they're 30 milligrams each.
And you're cranking up, and obviously you're building over the years, you're building the demand on your body.
Of course. Tolerance. So that's what it took. Like if I couldn't take 5 or 7 perk 30s, I didn't feel anything. That would just make me kind of normal, and it would take those extra 3 or 4 like to get me that really first time euphoric feeling, type thing. And they were expensive, because back then they were on the minimum $10 a piece and up to like $25 a piece. You do the math, and you know how much that costs a day.
Where are you getting the money from? Playing or from?
Oh no,
selling it.
From all kinds of things, from being a scandalous drug addict, like drug addicts are, like ripping people off, going back and forth from Arizona to Mexico, and taking things there and bringing things back over here, and like whatever it took, I guess, would be the answer. And there was nothing like off the table whenever it came to what I wanted. Spent a lot of time in pawn shops, pawning stuff that didn't belong to me.
I know. I heard a lot of your songs. I pawned a lot of guitars, and I didn't even own them.
No, true story. Like I used to. It was so bad. Like in my music days, that I would pawn both of my guitars on a Monday, like so I could get money for drugs, and I would have a show on Wednesday, and I'd have to borrow a buddy's guitar to play the next couple of shows. And then that weekend, try to get my guitar out of the pawn shop for a couple of shows. It was just this cycle of pawn shops and just scheming to stay high, because I mean that's what drug addicts do. I mean, looking back, it was I did some terrible things to some great people. And I've when I got when we'll talk about prison further on, but when I got out of prison, of course, I had an amends list. I know the deal. I wanted to make it right with everybody, and there's still a couple of people that I've not been able to make it right with for
variety of reasons.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons. But when you have that addiction just kind of fighting you tooth and nail every step of the way, you don't really you're selfish. Like drug addicts are selfish. Period. So I try to be selfless these days. I'm still trying to overcome the balance of the things I did as opposed to the things that I'm currently doing. I'm trying to. It would be great one day for those like to equal out. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah. What did he say? With your past, look, don't stare. You know,
Yeah, the
that's what.
past is a great place to visit, but a terrible place to live.
Yeah, oh, it is. It is. I mean, even though I've been straight for a long, long time.
Right. How long?
So 37 years.
All right. I'm coming up April 1st. I'll have 7 years clean and sober.
That's good
I'm
shit.
not California sober, and
Oh no.
whoever is California sober, I'm cool with them. That like from my sobriety, it's got to be. I am terrified if I do anything at all that it'll lead me back to everything.
Oh,
So I
well.
choose not to. I mean, this coffee I'm drinking, Tylenol, ibuprofen, and iced tea is about as heavy as I get. I put off a kidney surgery for a year because I didn't want them to put anything in my body. And it wasn't until I was pissing blood for 2 solid weeks they said, "Hey man, you got to have this surgery. You're gonna die," type thing. So
Piss and blood. That's a little nerve wracking.
yeah, it was. I had some kidney stones.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
anything, like uncommon or weird, but and so I did that. I had the surgery, and it was okay because I kind of felt repulsed, like when I was laying there coming out of the anesthesia. I was in a lot of pain. They gave me some morphine, and I was terrified that it was going to feel so familiar and inviting, but it wasn't. I was repulsed by it, and which was great because I didn't know what that was going to feel like. Because
You want to run like the blazes, get a hit, bang.
didn't know what it was going to do, but luckily I'm pretty grounded in my sobriety, and my sobriety is driven by my faith. I'm a
Yeah,
believer,
yeah.
and
What about that?
that if that's why I'm sitting here talking to you today. That's why I'm sober. It's not just the things I've done, but it's the things that God has done for me and through me,
Yeah.
and continues to do every day, and
Okay.
that's where my sobriety lives at.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that when I do, like I get whatever tooth surgery or something, and I did, the basic fucking around, nothing like you. I fucked around with opiates. Always liked them,
Right.
the pills and shit. Made me feel good. I didn't get onto the big. I was just booze, binge cocaine, constant weed. That was my routine. But anyway, off of that subject, when I have gotten opiates after one of these surgery things, I always tell people that chiclets from fucking God. I mean, they go into me like, and I will get into like, I had a business and it'll be like, get a spreadsheet on like whatever you're doing in business. And I would just jam out on it. Like a complex spreadsheet. I would just be up in my office, like, not even remotely in the way, and wanted another one.
That's how they affect some people. I mean, that's what they did to me. Like opiates for me were they were very motivating until I started mixing like handfuls of benzos with them, and then I was walking out in a just walking around in a blacked out state of who knows. I mean, there's weeks and months of my life that I'll never get back. I don't remember anything, only what people have told me, But the good thing is I don't have to live that way anymore.
No, you don't.
And
No, you don't.
and I get to write songs about it. I get to connect with folks on a deep level. I write the songs. Every song I write, I mean, it's pretty personal to me. I don't write songs really for anybody but myself, and it's like my open diary or journal, if you will.
No, I listened to probably 10 of them
Okay.
the last few days. And like any songs, a couple of them, it's not my cup of
Right.
tea. But some of them really, really hit me. What were the names? A couple of those, the ones that I'm sorry, I forgot them. Growing Old in Oklahoma Baby.
Okay.
They caught me. And Pound of Rust, of course, is just, beautiful. I sent that to a couple of my daughters, just, especially if you're in recovery, it speaks to the subject matter very nicely. And I presume it is about recovery, just trying to.
Oh yeah, that was the last song I wrote. I wrote a couple weeks before I got out of prison back in 2022. I wrote about 160 songs, and when we start talking about that area, I'll kind of explain that
Yeah.
timeline. But yeah, most of my songs are just about. I don't have very many happy ones. Most of these are just about things that have happened to me in my life, and then things that I've seen, observed, around me. Doing 6 years in prison, you see a lot. There's a lot of subject matter there.
Yeah, I don't know shit about it
Right.
other than I do meetings at the prison.
Okay.
And I never had that happen. But, some of those people that are like, I'm doing like 30 and I'm 20 in. And they're kind of like, yeah, like almost this warped sense of time. I'm like, oh fuck, 10 more years. But I don't know where their brain is on that. Obviously,
Well,
it's not just bashing their head against the wall.
No, I mean, so I was sentenced to 2,191 days, and I remember my first day, and it took me a few weeks to like make peace with the amount of time. And the guys that are doing, I had a lot of friends that were doing 20 and 30 years. I have friends in there that'll never get out, that are doing natural life. Because I spent the first year of my prison sentence on a high custody yard down in Arizona that was violent, and there was 400 people doing natural life there, 1,800 people on the yard. So you once you're in there, like with anything else, there's a level of acceptance whether you like it or not. Like you can remain miserable and fight it the whole time, or you can kind of accept what's in front of you, and you can either make good decisions or bad decisions around it. You can either get involved in the prison politics and the prison dope game, or you can decide you want to work out every day, or you can decide you want to get an education. Or my deal is I started a music education program in there and helped a lot of guys express themselves. Had a bunch of friends on the outside that were able to facilitate a bunch of donations, and taught over 500 guys how to play instruments in prison.
Wow,
and watched
very
it
cool.
Change their lives completely. They
Now
still
that was Razor Wire Sunrise.
Yeah, that was the first song I ever wrote as a sober human being, and that song's just about it's about a window, a little 4-inch wide window that faced east, that had a gutter running across the top of it, wrapped in razor wire.
Yep, I remember that.
And I had to be up every morning for formal count, and I watched a lot of sunrises through that lens of razor wire. And so that's the first song, and I wrote that about what I went to prison for. And so just so everybody knows, we keep talking about prison. I chose to get behind the wheel of a car, not sober, and I killed somebody in a car wreck. And so I was charged with second-degree manslaughter, and I pled that down to negligent homicide and pled guilty to that in Arizona, and was sentenced to 6 years. I did 5 years inside and 1 year on parole. And they let me actually. There was that song "Razor Wire Sunrise" is kind of talks about that entire event, and the year up to me going to prison, like the year after the accident up to prison. It kind of talks about some of that subject matter, but they let me record that song in prison and release it from prison because they believed in it. That song is, in my opinion, a powerful song.
It is a powerful song.
Through the lens of faith, about if you allow God to drive your life, and you stop trying to do everything on your own, that you can get out of a 25-year long drug addiction. You can mend the most broken relationships in your life. You can gain the trust and respect of your family and friends once again. Something that seemed like a very daunting task once in my life, almost an impossibility. I just put my hands in it and said, "Hey God, I can't do it. I can't do it myself." He's like, "All right,
Ain't gonna happen."
Surrender." Like I talk to people, I go talk at meetings and things. And I talk about the difference in belief and surrender. I was raised in a Christian household. I always was a believer, but I had never surrendered. And I believe there's a giant difference in the two. And it wasn't until I started surrendering areas of my life, my entire life, that all these good things started happening. All these things that only God can fix, not me. You know what I mean? So there's absolute strength in surrender, and that's why I'm sitting here today.
Yeah, well, there's what is it, for those of you who don't maybe know out there, AA. We got, well, I think everybody knows there's
Of course.
12 steps. But anyway, the first one is, I love this. Who cares to admit complete defeat?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no one.
Mm-hmm.
That's like somewhere in the first paragraph of the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And that always stuck in my mind. Like, who cares to admit complete defeat?
Right.
You're beat.
Right.
Game over. Lie down.
Mm-hmm.
You're a boxer and you just can't get up.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be in that spot? Nobody.
No, but I think, I mean, from my perspective, until you're in that spot and you admit that you're powerless, you can't
You ain't getting anywhere.
you can't begin to heal because you still think there's a chance that you can get yourself through it. And the fact for me is I could never get myself through it, and the people around me couldn't get me through it. It was God only that could get me through it, and it took me years to realize that. Luckily, God put me in prison to have that conversation uninterrupted because looking back on my life, God tried to pull me out of many, many catastrophes in my life, and I just wasn't willing to let Him do it. And
Or didn't acknowledge it.
didn't acknowledge it, was too high to understand it, So those conversations from the first 6 months in prison that I had with God were some of the most revealing conversations that I've ever had with anything on the planet because I was void of distraction, right? I was forced to kind of look at the destruction I'd caused in my life, honestly, for the first time, without interruption, without a chemical suppression of those feelings, and finally start to process the tragedies that I'd caused, not only with the accident I got in, but the tragedies that go along with a 25-year-long drug addiction. I mean, being a liar, a thief, every just untrustworthy, selfish
Yeah.
piece of crap human being. Its only goal was where I was going to get my next fix.
Run over whatever you got to.
Period. Yeah.
I mean, well, anyway, you spend your time going into those rooms and you hear a lot of shit. And I would argue that I would say a lot of people, there's just about nothing you could say. Maybe I might even say nothing you could say other than a few heinous crimes, but I don't think there's much you could say that I would just go, okay, yeah, you fucked it all up, and now you got to, hey, you dug the ditch, not me.
Yeah.
Now you got to find some kind of something stronger than you to drag your ass out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of people who've done a lot of bad things, but I tell people all the time, there's nothing you've done that you can't get forgiveness for. Period. Like the grace of God is stronger than any sin you may have committed. You have to acknowledge that and and let Him do His thing, rather than trying to do it your own and carrying that guilt and that resentment and burden all your life. He'll take it off of you if you let Him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did for me, and I know He's done it for many other people. I've watched it, I've witnessed it with my own eyes. And some people get sober through a 12-step program and they start out not believing in God, and by the end of it, I think they have a little bit. Even some of my friends that still are not believers, like they still believe conceptually in things, and I think they're on their way. I mean, I think it's about relationship, with God for me.
Yeah.
It's a relationship, just like a relationship with your wife or your daughter or anything else. You don't want to let them down. And I think relationship is where, for me, relationship with God is where the growth.
That's where you put it all together.
And then He continues to put me in places. I play a lot of shows, and I connect with a lot of people, and they come up and talk to me after shows, or send me emails or text messages. My phone number is on my website.
I know.
I answer it for anybody that calls. Period.
I think that's how I tracked you down, because Nick, you met my brother Nick, I think, and he like called me right away, and he's like, you got to touch base with this guy. He's a cool guy, and that's where I found it. I just went on the website.
Yep.
Boom. And you got back in a snap.
Yeah, I put it on there because I talk about struggle at a lot of my shows, and I want people to know that you can call me. I may be a musician. I'm not a guy that hides out in a green room. I'm out there talking to people before I play and after they play. I'm just a normal guy that's singing songs about struggle, and just as important to me as that is being available for people that are struggling. That's why my phone number is on my website, 405-593-1321. You're struggling with anything on the planet and you need somebody to talk to, man, give me a call.
I'll say that number again.
405-593-1321. Unless it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm asleep, because I do have to get sleep, or I'm in the middle of playing a show. If I don't answer the phone, which I answer my phone for everybody, if it's ringing in my hand and I can talk, I'll answer it. If not, I'll get right back to you for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. I know we found that. I think Bridget found that too.
You know what? A guy, a chaplain at the first rehab ever I went to was a Chandler Valley Hope. He pulled me in his office and he said, "Hey, you got kids?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "So what would you do if somebody called and said, 'Man, your daughter just robbed 5 liquor stores and like shot 2 people dead. Like, how would you feel about that? I said, well, it wouldn't matter to my daughter. I love him. And he said, good. I'm glad you understand that. I said, understand what? He said, how much God loves you.
Wow,
And it like
that's a cool
there
statement.
was like this there was a simplistic revelation that occurred to me right there that instinctively, like, our love for our children is the same love that God has for us, no matter what we have done in our life. And He doesn't take any convincing. Like, that was my normal. That was just like my front of brain reaction whenever He said, "Well, what would you think about that?" And I was like, "Oh, it wouldn't matter. It wasn't even a question. I didn't even have to process it and think, well, because that's what a parent's love is.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't. I don't care. Don't care. Some families that when I was younger had
Mhm.
all sorts of, if you were gay or something like
Mhm.
that, disown them,
Mhm.
get them fuck out of here.
Mhm.
I mean, that was the 70s.
Mhm.
I may say it's wrong now, but once again, that was the culture I was raised in.
Mhm.
Catholic, pretty
Well,
fundamental.
this is what I believe in. I believe that everybody has a right to be happy, and I believe that, like, another person's view and relationship with God or whatever they believe in, that's between them and God. It has nothing to do with me. And like, so, like, you may not, like, people do things that I may not agree with, but if it makes them happy, I'm cool with it. I don't have to agree with it, but I want everybody to have their own chance at happiness, and it's not my place to condemn anybody for anything. Those things are for God. I'm not the
Yeah, I'm not
judge.
jumping in there.
I'm not the moral authority. You know what I'm saying? So, regardless whether I agree with things or not, I believe that everyone has a right to be happy. Period.
Now, before we get into your music career, you have 3 kids,
Yes,
3 daughters.
you have two daughters and a stepdaughter.
Okay, a stepdaughter.
Yeah,
So the first is your 16-year-old, and what's her name?
her name's Destiny.
Destiny. I
Yeah.
like that. So she's 16. Then when was the second born?
So my daughters are Sydney is 27, Destiny is 31, and then Paisley, my stepdaughter, I'm sorry, Sydney's 26, Paisley's 27, Destiny is 31.
All right, now I'm going to repeat mine. Just I hope I
Right.
got all this right. I will. I got Bridget, who's my boss,
Okay.
31. Corrine, who's 30.
Okay.
I got Maura, who's 25. I got Phoebe, who's 22, and I got Tatum, who's 21.
Congratulations, man. Sounds like a lot of love going around.
It is a lot of love and a lot of. All I'll say is you learn the way you see the world through a woman's eyes.
Yes.
And that's for a guy who was, basically. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, surrounded by 3 sisters, but
Okay.
it was a guy house.
Okay.
And to go and live your life with 5 women, girls and women, and a wife, that's a different take on life.
It is. I don't have any sons. Just daughters, and I love them all to death.
Yeah.
Do they do things that make me upset? Absolutely. But nothing compared to, how I would probably have upset them most of my life. You know what's cool now in my sobriety, and I know that now I get to have these realistic relationships and these honest and open relationships with my children now, because I don't have anything hindering it. My oldest daughter is like, I go by every time I drive through Oklahoma. I stop because both Destiny and Sydney live in Oklahoma, and I stop there and spend a couple days. And my daughter texted me the other day and said, "In the past year and a half, I've seen you more times than I've seen you in the last 20 years." You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Which is cool. She's like, thanks for like letting me have my dad, and it's cool because I want to be there, and it's terrible that it took a long time for that to happen, but it was part of the process. All this stuff happened for a reason, and God's using this stuff for His glory, and He's using me to help other folks that are struggling with whatever it may be.
Well, I know I don't have the per se Christian God, but I have my own.
Okay.
And it's the real deal. But let me ask you, baby number 1, 16,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one with the same woman or separate? Same woman.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
First wife you stayed with for quite some time.
12 years, and then we got divorced. I got married because I thought I was supposed to, because it was 16. I had a kid. That lasted about 12 years.
12. That's a good run.
Well, it was
Fair amount of drugs.
But yes, and for her, alcohol and drugs, and I've been married now. I'm remarried. a couple years later, 19 years. So
Good, strong
my
one.
wife's name is Amy. She's been battling cancer for a little over a year now. She stuck with me through 13 years of addiction, 5 years of prison, and she's still there. You know what I mean?
That's a woman loving at you.
Yeah. So 100%, man. Sometimes marriages end because people get married for the wrong reasons. And I tell my daughters all the time, hey, do you love the guy you're with, or are you in love with him? Because if you can't say both, it's probably not going to work out, as far as being in love with somebody and just loving someone.
Yeah, I have a similar statement, maybe a little different. Do you like the person?
Right.
Because you can love a lot of people. Doesn't mean you like them.
Right.
And a lot of marriage is just kind of just hanging out and liking them, and that. So here we go. Now we're going to get into the big time subject. All right.
I mean, the big time subject for me is like the music is. Yes, I'm a musician. Yes, I like to share my songs with folks, but I mean, the more important subject, for me personally, is the sobriety and helping people get sober and helping people that are struggling. Music's just a vehicle that I use to express myself.
Yeah, I picked that up. I picked it up. So now, here's one. You hit somebody when you're drunk.
I wasn't drunk. I was on drugs.
Okay.
I was intoxicated.
Okay.
We'll use that word, right? Because some people always think that, it's a drunk driving thing. I was not much of a drinker, but I had 5 different drugs in my system.
So that was impairing you. Do you remember the accident?
Of course.
Some people, if they're blacked out, they don't remember.
I was on my phone. I was staring at my phone. I think I was scrolling next I was on a YouTube playlist, and I was going about 25, 26 miles an hour, and there was a guy stopped at a stoplight, and I hit him. Never even saw it happen. My airbag went off. I got out and asked what happened.
Did you hit an individual, or did you hit a car?
A guy on a motorcycle.
Wow. And was he dead right when you hit him?
Pretty quickly. Yeah. I mean,
before
before he didn't make it to the hospital. So, and terrible thing, I live with it every day. Matter of fact, I struggle. This happened in October, is the month that it happened. So mid to late October is always difficult for me. Because I mean, that's a big deal. Like my
Shit.
ignorance taking somebody's life, like, it's never minimized. Have I healed, like, with what I've done? Yes. Is it still very dominant in my mind? Absolutely. Are there still questions that I have, about the impacts and the ripple effect that it had in countless lives? 100%. So that's something that never goes away for me at all.
Well, I guess there's a group of people that does, but I can't imagine. People joke about Catholic guilt. And I've always said, guilt's a good thing up to a certain point. And that would drag with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the experience. So I
It's
can't
not.
comment.
I mean, I've processed, that a lot, but it's still there. The feeling of doing that is still there. But I channel that into energy to try to help folks that are going down the same path, so that kind of offsets everything. And I have not spoken with the victim's family, and I want to reach out, but I think it's probably inappropriate for me to reach out to them. And I hope maybe one day that they reach out to me and see, like, the good that has come out of the tragedy that occurred in both of our lives that I caused.
Well, I think that would be a bit of, I agree with you. I don't know. I don't know how I would respond if it happened to me.
Right.
Somebody called me up. I hope I would be a little considerate, but there's a good chance I'd rip into your ass.
Of course, and it's well deserved. So, in my songwriting, I write about that entire experience with a lot of different songs.
Do you know a musician named John Prine?
Of course.
Yeah.
Who could sit here and say they were a songwriter and not know who John Prine
Well,
is?
a lot of people,
Right.
but a lot of his songs. He's a fantastic songwriter,
Of course.
obviously. But there's some of your songs like touch on that, where his songs are just so, I don't know how to explain it, just lyrical, down to earth, and some of them are very painful.
Mhm.
He has one about Sam Jones comes home and he's
Oh, yeah.
that's a good frickin' song.
They're all good, and I think writers like John Prine, when they write a song, they're not worried about putting that bow on the end of it. Sometimes a story doesn't have a bow on the end of it, and those stories need to be told just as much as the stories that have a happy ending. Watching movies, I like drama movies. Right?
Oh yeah, let's lock this puppy up.
Like I like drama things, drama movies.
But you like it to have a little bow on it at the end.
No. I'm saying that I don't. I like to listen to and watch stories that don't always have a happy ending. And my songwriting is indicative of that, because there hasn't been a lot of bows in my life, and I'm still like purging all the stuff from my past through song all the time. So I still write. I still write songs that are just, man, there's no light that shines through. I have a new one that I wrote back in October. My wife's oncologist had called. So this October, I told you, was a difficult time. That's whenever I caused this tragedy. And my wife's oncologist called that week, and she just had surgery, and she said that her cancer had spread to her axillary lymph nodes, and I about lost my mind. It was like I'd never been that close to relapsing. I mean, I've struggled with suicidal thoughts my whole life. So
Yeah.
in that moment, and this was just in this last October, there was a week that I was really contemplating like ending it all, or getting high again. Both would have the same effect and consequence. It was a very dark time in my life, and
Was there a song where there was a song where you're saying like, I can't get up in the morning, the shades are drawn, takes me like 2 hours to get up, then I finally say I'll go.
no, that's a song called "Her Memory."
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
song I wrote. I wrote that song when I was in prison, about a guy that well, I tried to channel his pain through a song that had lost his wife. My wife is doing good now, but
Great.
I did
Glad
not
to hear
know at the time. And so I wrote this newer song that's on my new album that comes out in July, called "The Weight I Carry." That kind of, it's probably my saddest song to date.
Oh, great.
To date.
Well, I'll listen. I mean,
Okay.
I like a good, I don't know.
It's just the truth. I mean, sometimes there's the truth that I write about struggle is that it's just that. It's just the truth. It's not no fancy rhyme schemes to like tell some story that doesn't exist. And that's why songwriting, the truthful songwriting for me comes easy, because I'm just opening up my heart for the world to see. And cool things that happen to me. This lady said something to me. I'll never forget it. She'd never seen me before. I played a 60-minute set. She walked up to me. She said, "I've never met you before, but I feel like I've known you my entire life."
It's a good feeling.
And I was like, cool, like you get it, right? Because I do, as I told you before this interview, nothing is off limits, because if you hear the songs that I write, that's the deepest, darkest secrets that I have are right out there for the entire world to hear, and they're unencumbered by
You're letting it
fear.
open. You're going after it. I mean, I know the ones that I've listened to are just like, guys, not a lot hidden. And when you spoke to my brother in Key West, apparently you told him a lot, because he called me up and he's like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, I said, Nick, holy shit, how long did you talk to this
Well,
guy?
I tell these stories from the stage, right? So I don't just play song after song. I tell the stories about the songs and why I wrote them and everything, so that people can have a deep understanding of who I am, what I've been through, and how I'm standing here today on the other side of it.
So when did you start playing guitar?
All right, so I was around 12 or 13 when I got my first guitar. I had moved from Hydro, Oklahoma to Yukon, Oklahoma, where I discovered guitars, skateboards, weed, and death metal. Right, and so,
Death metal.
right. So my mom got me a guitar. It was an Area Pro 2, and I had some friends that played guitar. I sat in my bedroom.
What's Area Pro 2?
It's a brand.
Oh, okay.
It's a brand of guitar.
Okay.
And so I would listen to like old Testament, Obituary tapes, and Yngwie Malmsteen, and I would just sit in my room and rewind the tape and continue to try to figure out how to play this stuff. So I was self-taught. By the time I was 16, 17 years old, I had several friends that we were like in these really like death metal bands, just super heavy metal, Cookie Monster vocal type stuff.
What's Cookie Monster vocal? Oh, I thought that was screamo.
No, that might be the new age way to describe it. But back in the day, it's death metal, right? There was no.
So give that again, Cookie Monster.
There was no clean singing in the metal that I grew up with. So started playing guitar, self-taught. Took one guitar lesson. I took two. I took one classical lesson and then one from a guy named Brian Ballou out of Oklahoma City, and then I just figured I'm going to figure this stuff out. And so I continued to play in these speed metal bands up through my 20s. I was doing nothing but playing death metal, fast, angry, intricate music. And I hit 30 years old, and I got kind of tired of of doing that. It wasn't like very gratifying at the time, mind you. I was still a drug addict,
Right.
so I started figuring out if I could sing and play guitar. And I would go to open mics 7 nights a week in the Phoenix area, sometimes two a night,
Really,
to
just banging on it.
just trying to figure out how to express myself with my voice, not just my guitar. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And then I wrote a couple of songs, and then I put a band together, and I started writing more songs, all while still, juggling my addiction. So music was an outlet for me at that time, but it was never, I never, it was never what it was supposed to be, because I was still, encumbered by my drug use. So I started writing these songs. I have a medium success with a band that's touring around the United States, Sour Diesel Trainwreck, still while juggling the addiction, and the car accident happened, and I went to prison, and I thought I was never going to play a guitar again.
Let me fall back when you're playing open mic.
Mhm.
So they say, "Hey, who wants to come up and play?" You just walk up.
No, it's a list.
Okay.
You show up at the beginning of
I
the night,
don't.
and they
I've
have
not been.
and there's a list, and you sign your name on. I actually host one in Mesa at
Do
Roosters
you?
Country on the Tuesdays that I'm in town. So it's a good training ground for people that are trying to learn how to sing and play guitar. Excuse me. So the open mics is where I learned how to play and sing. I was always a guitar player, and I could play some really cool, fast, intricate stuff, but I could never do the delicate stuff or sing. So again, I started writing the songs, put the band together, and just loved music. But music, I had not let music save me, because I was still on drugs. I went to prison. Um, Thought I would never play guitar again for the next 6 years. The church folks came and said, "Hey, we heard you play guitar." I'm like, I do this. How's your walk with the Lord? I said, "It's getting better every day." They said, "We need a guitar player for the church band." So I went down to the chapel. They opened a closet, and there was a couple of guitars sitting in there. And I remember just breaking down and crying, like, wow. They're like, this is, I never figured there'd be guitars in prison. So fast forward a little bit, in that same year, I convinced the administration at Red Rock Correctional Facility, which was owned by CCA, I think at the time, private prison, to let us.
CCA. I guess that's some company that.
Yeah, I don't even know what it stands for. It's a private prison monopoly. Anyhow, they let me and a guy named Javier Lavender, this should be getting out anytime, start a music education program and set up a classroom, and like we taught people a couple times a day. They spent some money on equipment, and I started watching it heal people, like the most powerful part of healing that I had ever seen. Everybody wants to express themselves. Some people just don't know how. And this was providing these guys an opportunity to express themselves positively. So I got moved off of that yard and went to a minimum security yard, where I continued to badger the administration about letting us have more equipment. And a lot of my friends helped raise a bunch of money, and we donated about $20,000 to the last yard I was on. And they started seeing the change in these
They
guys.
liked a little bit of money, I guess, the last yard.
No, well, no. We just sent the guitars in. It wasn't physical money.
Okay.
Like, we sent equipment in, and I built a classroom. And there they let me build. We painted pictures on the wall, and I was teaching. There were probably 3 to 4 classes going on a day. There was a drum instructor. Whatever it was a comprehensive music education program that was full of accountability. Also, it has rewards. We got to play, have concerts on the yard once a month, Spanish bands, death metal bands, rock and roll, country, singer-songwriter stuff. And in the wintertime, we would set up little listening rooms in this classroom. But what this did is this made me realize how powerful music was, and how these people that have been in prison for 20 years with no smile on their face, they never had a voice. You give them an instrument, and you teach them how to play it, and if they remain committed, they have a voice now. And this voice is not the voice that they're used to, which may be, prison politics or gambling or drugs or anything. They have a way they can express themselves. And it was the most absolute powerful thing to date that I've seen in my life, is this group of guys, over 500 of them, that I was able to teach. And watch them.
That's a shitload.
And watch them heal through music. And now, fast forward, when they get out of prison, they all have my phone number. Every student I ever had. If they call me, I get them a guitar within a week after they get out. I want to make sure they don't use the vehicle they've been expressing themselves with on day one.
You get them a guitar.
Oh yes, and I'll meet other people.
Is this stolen guitar like in the
no, But I'll meet people at shows, and I'll tell this story, and I'm like, "Hey, I wanna buy the next guy that gets out a guitar." So, a friend of mine just got out last week. He got his, associate, his bachelor, and master's degree in an 8-year prison sentence.
Wow.
He's done 15 years. He
That's
got
so cool to hear because you don't hear that a lot.
So his guitar is coming from, the head of the narcotics, division in Dallas. Came to one of my shows and said, "Hey, I wanna buy the next guy that comes out that needs a guitar. I wanna do it. Like, can I help?" So I reached out to him yesterday. Said, "Absolutely." So when I get back, we're gonna go get this guy a guitar. But back to the music and prison thing. I'm telling you that the music for me, when I watched it heal all these people around me and start to heal me through the songs I was writing and help heal other people through the songs I was writing, I like to continue to contribute to the guys that are getting out of prison, whether that be through an instrument or somebody to talk to or a little bit of money in their pocket or um, one of my students got out several months ago, and he's 38 years old. He's been in prison for 18 years.
Wow.
His parole officer gave him a travel permit, and he's a great songwriter and a great vocalist and guitar player. He really practiced 7-8 hours every day, and he got a travel permit. And I took him down through Texas with me for a week and a half and showed him how you can go out and do this, and you can exist in the world sober. I'm supposed to lead by example, right? I can tell people everything I want, but some of these guys I will put in a car with me and I'll take them out for a week and a half and I'll show them like the real world side of it. People that have been on drugs their entire life, I can show them how I operate in the world drug free and what music. I've used music as a vehicle to connect.
When
with
someone
people.
travels you with, are you letting them play with you or just watching you?
I got him up to do a couple songs, just surprised him. Hey, get up and do a song.
Shit his pants
at venues that are hard to get in. But regardless, it's the music, they've healed through music, and I want them to continue their journey now that they're not in prison. I want them to continue to express themselves through music and also use their story to change the lives of people that they may not yet know. And the only way to show them how to get started doing that is just to take them out there with you on the road and say, this is how I do it. Like I have boundaries. I have very healthy boundaries with the people that I hang out with and the places that I play. And my goal is connecting with people and helping people heal through my struggle, essentially.
And so you're a very devout Christian, or
I am.
And when
I
you
believe
say
in Jesus Christ,
and when you say you believe in Jesus Christ, when did that come upon you?
Well,
I mean, you sound like I don't think you were there when you were 25 years of addiction, or maybe
I
you
was
were.
A believer, but I had never surrendered. Remember when we talked at the beginning of this?
Yeah.
So it was not until I surrendered and I said, "All right, you can have all of me, not just pieces of me." That's when my life started to change, and that's when God started putting me in, and just lining the stars up for me to show up at different places around the United States and tell my story to people that are supposed to be there hearing it, because that's the place and time that God has orchestrated. And I believe that 100%.
Did you have you hear people in the program who had like a flashing moment, a silver, like, oh, I had this, something woke me up?
No, there was not. I mean, other than those conversations that God had with me in a dark prison cell when I first got there, and there was no other distractions around me in those conversations that we had. Would I say that's a bright, shining moment? No, I would say that it was whenever I finally started listening to what he was trying to tell me, rather than hearing it. There's a difference in hearing and listening. There's a difference in belief and surrender. So that's when I started listening and digesting the conversations that I was having with him, and started taking direction from him. And that's what I continue to do on a daily basis. And do I struggle? Absolutely. I'm a recovering drug addict. Do other times I have cravings? 100%. But I know what to do about it. Whenever I do, I know there's people I can call. So anybody that thinks that sobriety comes with a bunch of bells and whistles, it's a lot of work, right?
No.
It's a struggle, and if you've been going at it for this long, right?
No, you get. Let's just say, what is it? Drugs are for people who can't handle reality, or something like that, or I don't know what the hell the saying is. Something about basically reality sucks. And I always tell people, man, it's a pull. Life's a pull. That's it. I mean, I've had times where I've had I've suffered with depression. I've had nasty anxiety. I've had therapy, psychiatric work. Religion has just never been able to catch me, the institutional side of it. But
Well, so I'm glad you said religion because I don't believe so much in like what you would call the different brands of religion out there. Like I believe in Jesus. You can call me whatever label you want to put on that. But I'm not Presbyterian. I'm not Baptist. I'm not Catholic. I'm not go through the list. I have a relationship with God and we talk every day, right? And the Bible I read, King James Version Bible, it boiled down says, "Hey man, try to love everybody and I want a relationship with you," right? And so the I call it secular religion or the brand name religions that are out there. They're very divisive, in my opinion, and it's always a bunch of finger pointing and say, well, you're not supposed to do this and you're not supposed to do that. But the Bible's clear about that. The judgment's reserved for God. We're here to lead by example and walk in the likeness of Him. And when you start like saying people are wrong for this, that, and the other, like that's not up to us to say, right? Even if we know it's wrong, it's not up to us to condemn people and try to be condescending to them and have this superiority complex because we believe this and they don't type thing. Again, remember when I talked about everybody has a right to be happy? They're really people. Your relationship between you and God is none of my business. You know what I mean? So,
no, for sure.
So what you believe, like I would never condemn you for that. I know that God draws us to Him. Right, and we can't draw ourselves to Him. It's God draws us to Him, and if we answer that call when He starts drawing us to them, then there's nothing that's going to stop that.
Well, I listen. I mean, you know, in AA, the whole gig is you ain't going to get anywhere if you're not buying in on that one. You know,
What's that?
Well, surrender, and there's some form
Yes.
of a thing, a higher power, something that you're willing to say, I'll give this thing over to. Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as we want to hear some of your music, so now I want to get into one of the more kind of our final question, you know, and I think I know the answer, but screw it, we're going to do it. So why do you do this? You know, I mean, just why? I think go ahead. Why?
I play music and I write songs to connect with people. Period. I do it because it helps me to continue healing. Through the song, and it also helps me connect with folks that need to hear a story of success from someone that has struggled just as hard as they have, and not like a superficial story, but a real story that you can only tell if you've lived it. Like you can tell stories all day long, but it hits a little bit different whenever you're telling a story, or I'm listening to a story from somebody that's telling it that has actually walked in those shoes and not just observed the situation they're writing about happen. So the only reason that I play music is to connect with people, to take what God's done for me and share that with the entire world, so that they might find some peace in the strength that I've found and the healing that I found through my belief. And that's it. That's I mean, it's not some big giant complex answer to me. I want to connect with people and I want to help people heal. I want to turn all the tragedy in my life into I want to frame it in a positive light because I've come back from it. Right, I've come back. I've overcome the odds. I was the underdog. I was the underdog, and now I get to live and be the person that I've always supposed to have been, and the person, more importantly, that God's always wanted me to be. And that's the reason I play music. It's not to try to get a Grammy. It's not to try to get on music charts. Now, if any of that stuff was a byproduct of it, it's okay. But that's not my goal. My goal is singular. And my goal is connection. Period.
Very cool answer. Very good answer. Well, listen. Are you going to play any music for us?
Of course.
Let's do this. We got to just one more time. Let's say your call numbers and who you are.
My what? Say that one more time.
I screwed that one up pretty good.
I don't know what a call number is. I mean, is that like a military number? I don't know what that is.
Give me your coordinates and where you're heading, son.
Yeah.
No, your name, the name of obviously the name of your band.
Okay. I'll give you like some.
Yeah, phone numbers roughly for the next few months. Where you playing?
Okay.
You know, and then we'll just wrap it up.
All right. My name is JD Graham. My telephone number is 405-593-1321. You can find every place that I'm going to play at www.thejdgraham.com. My entire tour schedule is up there. I've traveled a little over 21,000 miles this year so far, and we're just barely into March. In the month of April coming up, I'll be out on the East Coast, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Illinois, Iowa. I'll be all up and down. I'm on Instagram at jdgraham.
There we go.
My Facebook is JD Graham Music, and I told you what the website. There's links to all that stuff. And if you guys want to hear any more of the story, just press play. I've got my last album that came out in June last year is called A Pound of Rust. It's on all the places that people listen to music. I have an album that's done that will be released in probably mid-July. It's going to be the title of the album will be called Sergeant of Sorrow. Another collection of sad songs.
Another collection of pick-me-ups.
Yeah, no.
They could be pick-me-ups for people who really need the message.
No, right. So yeah, it's different. Like if you're looking for like people that want to book me, if you're looking for somebody that's going to play wing night at Chili's and compete with a 50th birthday party and family reunion, I'm not your guy. I play in rooms that are quiet, and if your room's not quiet and I'm background noise, there's no price tag that will make me come play. I have a message to put out through song, and I need quiet rooms to do that. And I know that I can connect with people if I have a quiet room. So I play a lot of listening rooms and small theaters.
Yeah, I saw that.
And quiet venues. Not interested in playing loud venues, no matter what the price tag is. I want to connect with folks. I can't do that whenever there's just a bunch of banter going on. So, but I'm grateful that I get to do this. I'll probably play 220, 230 shows this year. I've gotten to do things this year in the last 12 months that were only dreams 15 years ago. And it's because I'm sober. It's because I believe in God. It's because I'm letting him drive the bus and letting him use me to do his work. And there is no other reason I get to do this. So if you're out there struggling, folks, I promise you that you can come back from it. I'm living proof of it. I'd like to sit here and tell you that it's easy, but it's a lot of hard work, but you can do it. And if you ever want to call and talk to me, I told you my phone number, 405-593-1321. I will get back with you. That's my absolute promise. And very grateful that you guys let me come on here today.
Let me tell you what,
do this.
I'm grateful. And I'll just end with this. I've been clean for 37 years. And there's a lot, the hit rate is not good for people making it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine what the hit rate is for somebody going to prison and getting out and staying clean. I bet that's a shit percentage. I don't know what it is, but it's low. I got to think. So listen, I don't know. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. And congratulations on your sobriety as well.
Thank you. Hard work. I don't know. If anybody want to know, just don't lose touch.
Right.
Just stick around somewhere around. We go to the halls, just go run in. I call it like my touchstone. Get in there and touch it.
I'm writing a song now that has a line in it that says, some days are tough, but it's easier than it was.
That's for sure. Well, on that, we're going to bring an end to this show. Again, I'm Mark Howley. I'm the lead, the whole reason we're here. Don't want to lose touch with my ego.
Of course.
And I just wanted to say thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Good meeting you. Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Thank you for listening to The Mark Howley Show. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, give us a like, share the episode, and subscribe. For other stories like this one, you can check us out wherever you stream your content at The Mark Howley Show. New episodes every other Friday. Adios.